We shall fight in the field.
Mit der Akzeptanz der
C'est pas parce que les
vier
Britanniques
Grundfreiheiten und dazu gehört
ont
auch
décidé
die
de sortir qu'ils ne doivent pas être
Freizügigkeit der
associés à ce
Personen.
processus.
Brexit means Brexit.
Hello and welcome to another Brexitometer, the first after the summer break, which already feels ages ago. I'll start with a confession. In the 3.5 years that I've been doing the Brexitometer, it's the first time that I am feeling so uncertain, this strange, ominous feeling. And it's not so much about Brexit, it's just the general sense that is created in the UK by this intersection of the Brexit and the coronavirus crisis. Brexit is back in the news and the coronavirus crisis is picking up again, and the economy is not doing all that great. So what does that all mean, and what does it mean for the future relationship of the UK with the EU? Let's go have a look. At the height of the COVID crisis back in spring, there was a saying, "Don't you miss Brexit?" Well, careful what you wish for, because Brexit is now back with a vengeance. It's back in the news, and of course it has to be, because the transition period ends at the end of this year. What caused Brexit to come back to the news? In this specific case, it was the publication by the government of the new internal market bill, where the UK government decided to unilaterally introduce changes to the withdrawal agreement it had signed with the EU on issues pertaining to Northern Ireland. Now, you may remember that around a year ago, the UK had agreed to sign a withdrawal agreement that basically allowed Northern Ireland to function as a part of the EU common market. It basically created a commercial border between Great Britain and Northern Ireland in order to avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland. Back then that was seen as a masterstroke by Boris Johnson, who basically bypassed all the problems inside his party pertaining to Ireland in order to secure timely exit from the EU and therefore win an election. Well, guess what? Now his government decided that it doesn't like what it signed a year ago, pretty much saying that they are unilaterally changing an international treaty the UK has signed. And of course this has major problems for UK's credibility, both for this negotiation but also with any other international agreement it signs down the line. The government of course says that things are not exactly like that, and it has put the bill on hold for the time being. What does this all mean for the negotiations? Is this just another effort by Boris to regain his Brexit magic, show that he's really strong on the EU, divert attention from COVID, and in the end sign an agreement as he did last year with the withdrawal agreement? Or is it a real sign that this time the UK really means it, that it's really ready to walk without a deal from the negotiations? I guess we'll have a few months to find out, but that already shows you that the next few months of negotiations are going to be really, really tense between the UK and the EU. In other Brexit news, while the UK government was busy trying to avoid a border between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, it actually decided to set up a border in Kent, a county just 40 miles down from London. Why is that? This is actually a very emblematic, a very characteristic case of what Brexit will entail and how many changes Brexit will bring in everyday life in the UK. Kent is actually the county closest to Europe, so that's where all the trucks and all the lorries go through in order to reach Europe. The problem is that once Brexit happens, they have to fill out forms. There's a big fear that there's going to be huge queues formed in Kent as the trucks wait to cross into Europe using the channel or taking the boat from Dover. In order to avoid this, government wants to force lorries and companies to fill out all their paperwork in advance. And in order to enforce this, they want to create a specific permit that the lorries will have to have in order to enter into Kent on their way to Europe. Now, how do you enforce this? How do you police this? Actually, the government says that it will bring out the police and the special virtual digital systems to make sure that lorries can actually enter into Kent, essentially creating, for all practical purposes, some kind of a border inside England. Now, of course, the jokes write themselves here, right? It's a great way for the famously dry British sense of humor to have a field day. Brexit happened so that we can take back control of our borders, by which we mean the borders of Kent. We did Brexit so that we can have our independence, therefore Kent can also have its independence from England, and so on and so forth. But beyond all the jokes, this is a really, really good example about all the practical implications, all the practical challenges that Brexit brings. Any government will have to struggle with all those things. It's a really good reminder that a fully formed, a full Brexit, as the current government means it, means that everyday life in the UK will have to change in many, many ways most people don't even imagine right now. So what's happening on the pandemic front? After a couple good months over the summer, the UK seems to currently be entering the second wave, unfortunately, much as most other parts of Europe as well. Cases are now going up. Hospitalizations and deaths are sadly also going up, although at a slower, better rate than what was happening back in March and April. And then there's again this sense of chaos, of uncertainty. The government has sent many conflicting messages. They're trying to manage kids going back to school. There's the famous rule of 6, that there shouldn't be groups larger than 6 and the police could disperse them. Lots of conflicting messages generally. I want to be fair here. I think we now know that all governments are struggling with the pandemic, trying to create some semblance of normal everyday life and function of the economy while trying to mitigate the impact of the virus. The UK government grossly mismanaged the first wave, that is true, but still the UK appears to be in a better position than other countries in Europe, like France and Spain, that are currently experiencing a real second wave. The main concern about the UK, of course, is that unlike other parts of Europe, the pandemic is unfolding in parallel with Brexit. You basically have two major crises. Normally any country would struggle to cope with one, and in the UK you have two. We're going to keep an eye out for the pandemic, also because we don't know how it will interplay politically with what Boris Johnson wants to do. Some people worry that he will use the disruption of the pandemic as an excuse to bring about a hard Brexit. Others worry that he's using Brexit to hide from the really negative effects of the pandemic. We'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But currently everyone in the UK is bracing for some really tough days ahead with the virus. So this was another Brexitometer, the pre-crisis Brexitometer, pre-double crisis actually. In politics they say sometimes that every crisis is an opportunity, so it really makes you wonder if two crises is an even bigger opportunity. What for? We don't know exactly. As I said in the introduction, there's a sense of uncertainty. No one really knows how any of this will unfold. There's a sense that somehow it's the crises that are leading the way rather than the politicians who are trying to come up with ideas to face the crisis. The UK is bracing for some very bumpy next 3-4 months. We'll have to wait to see how that unfolds. The only silver lining in all of this is that the Brexitometer will be here to offer you all the advice straight from London, telling you how things are unfolding. Until the next meeting, you can always send me your questions using the hashtag Brexitometer on social media. Until we meet again, as always in these days, stay safe, stay healthy, stay well, and stay distant if you must. The UK is trying to stay distant from the EU. That's the way to go in pandemic days. Take care.
We shall fight in the field.
Mit der Akzeptanz der
C'est pas parce que les
4
Britanniques
Grundfreiheiten und dazu gehört
ont
auch
décidé
die
de sortir qu'ils ne doivent pas
Freizügigkeit
être
der
associés à ce
Personen.
processus.
Brexit means Brexit.